Hello there, and welcome to Lesson 6 in our series on Unity Fundamentals, created for the students at Saturday Academy. I am the instructor, Will Patillo. And today's lesson, we are going to be focused on creating a little bit of animation for these coins, having them spin around and bob up and down, make them look a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to take one of these coins and I'm go into the prefab and I'm going to add an animator component. Now I have two options here. I could put an animation component, and this is the legacy system where you could just attach the animation directly, and we could use this, but Unity doesn't really support this method very well, and they make it very clear they want you to use the animator. So even though this is a simple enough type of animation that this could work, it's best to just get used to using the animator. So instead, add component and then animator. Alright, now, let's see, I'm going to go into my folders, and I'm also going to create a new folder called animation, just to keep this here. And so on this coin, now on this animator component, it is looking for an animation controller. So we'll need to create one of those. Right click in this animation folder, create, and I'm looking for, animator controller. And I'm just going to call this coin. And now I can drag this coin into that controller field. So now this coin has some animation. But now, this animator, what that essentially is a state machine that can control movement between different animations. It's assuming that you have lots of animations and you need to be able to transition between them. In this case, we only have one animation, so it's kind of overkill, but it'll still work. So now, to actually animate the coin, we need an animation clip. So I'll click this create to begin animating coin, create an animation clip, create right there, and I'm going to give it a name, and I'm just going to call it coin spin. Save it. And now, actually if I go back into project, here is the animation itself, and if we look inside of the animator, which is this window up here, right now the way this is set up is that as soon as the scene starts with this object active, entry is going to call a transition to its default state, which is coin spin right here. And coin spin has this coin spin animation. And it's as simple as that. If I wanted to go from coin spin to something else, then I would need to right click on it, create a transition, and go wherever I need to, but there's, again, only one animation. So to start creating this animation, I click on this animation window right here. And if you lose this window, by the way, you can just click this drop down, add tab, and then click there. And now there's two of them, so if I want to get rid of one, I can click close tab. Alright, so now to watch what's happening as we create this animation, we'll switch back to the scene view up here. To start animating properties on our coin, there are a couple of ways we can do this. One is it can add a property and go into transform and then drill down and click position. Our goal is to get the coin bobbing up and down. And it'll record those positions, and then we can go into them and change some of the values on them. One method I kind of like using, I'll just go ahead and remove that property, is I can click on this record button and just go right at the beginning, and then just make a tiny little change to one of the values. And notice that'll cause all of those positions to just show up automatically. And after which I can just change it right back, and I haven't changed anything in terms of its values, but it's still recorded. And then I go somewhere else and set it to where I want it to be at the end of the animation. And then, so if I preview this, it'll move up smoothly. Now it's still kind of jumping right back down, so to make it move back smoothly as well, I can click this set of animation frames right here and make sure that this line that's showing this line shows where I am in the animation. The frames are points that are recorded that it moves between. So if I select these frames and have that line there and I press Control Z, I can go over to the 2 seconds, press Control V, and now I will have Y at 1.8 on the first frame, 2 on the second frame, which is at 1 second, and then back down where it started, so that way when it loops back it doesn't jump. So now if I preview this, you'll see a nice bobbing effect. Now there's one bit of a problem, which I'll illustrate just by playing the scene so you can see what happens. Okay, the coin is bobbing fine, but there's only one of it. And, well, actually there's 5 of them, but the thing is, they're all right on top of each other. They have the exact same position. And the reason for that is if I look in this coin animation, it's recording the X, Y, and Z, and it's telling it exactly where that coin should be. And the same animation is applied to all of these coins because it's a prefab. Now, maybe I'd be able to fix something if I could somehow detach position.y from x and z, and then, but of course first I'm not really sure that's possible, and second, even if it was, what if we wanted to have multiple floors in our game? We wouldn't want all the coins being forced to be on the same y position anyway. So the way around this problem is, I'll just go ahead and delete all these keyframes or empty out our animation, this becomes one place where it becomes necessary to separate the model from the object itself. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So in this coin, I'll just click here, create empty, and I'm going to rename this to model and make sure it's starting out, all these numbers are 0 and scale is 1. Then I'm going to go into this coin and start cut and pasting a lot of these components into the model. So I'll start with the cylinder. So copy component and paste component as new into the model. Do the same thing. Copy component, paste component as new. And then for the collider, same thing. Paste component as new. And also the contact event. Paste component as new. And now that they're all on the model, I can remove them from the parent object. Remove that, and remove that, and remove that. The animator will stay on the parent level. Also, because now that I have this collider moving around, I want to attach a rigid body to this, and turn off gravity and is kinematic. I'll leave that on. So now that I have the model down here, I can start creating my animation again. So again, I'll start by hitting the record button, and I'll bring in the transform as a property by just putting in some numbers and then going away. I find that a little easier than drilling down to add property. Starting out right here, I'll leave it at 0, and then click over here at 1 second mark, and then just type a 1 in Y. That'll create those keyframes right there. Hold down Control and roll back on the mouse wheel to zoom out a little ways. Click here to get those selected. Bring the line here and Control C. Control V on the 2 seconds to bring the coin back to its starting position, and let's try that out. Nope, it's moving, but the wrong way. So I'll just go ahead and fix that, change this Y to a 0, and move it on the X-axis. There we go, that looks more like it. Okay, that seems like it's bobbing a little far. I'll just press here. This goes back to the previous keyframe, and I'll change this 0.1 to a 0.5. Okay, maybe I'll make it a little more subtle, even still. Let's try 0.25. Play that again. That looks nice. Now, one thing, if I want to slow this down or speed it up, a very easy, quick way to do that is I click here and press Shift, click here so that I have everything selected. Now you see these little lines right here. I click on this and I can drag it over to the 3-second mark, and that'll space everything out evenly. And so now that same animation occurs over 3 seconds. Alright, so now I have my animation, or at least the bob aspect of it. And now let's see, make sure everything looks like it's set all right. So model, yeah, so some references got lost here. Okay, so on the contact event, still setting the same game object inactive. Yes, need to reset those references on the button container. So let's see, bring this over here, button container, collect all events, and remove from collection. Remove from collection, and then bring in the coin as the thing to remove. And let's do the same thing for all of these models. So just select them all at once. Okay, hit Control, click there, there, and there. We already got that one, so that one's fine. Drag in the button container, collect all events, remove from collection, and now we have to deal with it individually. Okay, coin 1, coin 2, coin 3, and coin 4. And this one's already taken care of. Save that, and now let's see what happens when we run. Okay, now we can see all the coins are bobbing up and down, and they're not all being forced to the same position. And I can still pick them up, and the collect all still works with the door opening. Alright, so next we're going to expand this animation a little bit, go back into the prefab, and have it spin around in a circle. So process for that, I'll click the record button here, and starting at position 0, essentially I just want it to spin around on this x-axis right here, so let's just put in a 0.01 to get it starting to record. Okay, great. And I'll start it at 0, then skip ahead to the next frame, and here I'll say the rotation is 180. Oh, that didn't look right. How about there? Okay, rotation 180 on the y-axis, and then on the final frame, set the rotation back to 0. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, so it's turning one direction and then turning back. We want it to just spin continuously. So instead of setting it back to 0, I'm going to set it to 360 over here. And now it spins continuously. However, one thing that doesn't quite look right here is that the spinning, if you watch this closely, you want the spinning to be at a constant rate, and instead it's speeding up and then slowing down, and so that it comes to a stop at the end of the frame. And actually, you notice it's doing the same thing on the bobbing up and down, where it moves quickly through the middle, slows down, and then starts going the other way, moves faster until it slows down at the end. And that's great for the bobbing, but not so great for the spinning. So the reason why that's happening, so right now we're looking at this as a dope sheet. That's just looking at it on just the level of frames, and this is a very nice, convenient thing to work with, but it actually obscures a lot of what's actually going on in the animation. And to see a little bit more detail as to what's going on, I click this curves icon right here. So dope sheet, curves. And this brings me to a very different looking screen. And so let's see if I take a look at the position right here. So the little controls on this, if I press Control and scroll the mouse wheel, then that will change the scale on horizontally. So I like it here. If I press Shift and spin the control wheel, then that will change the zoom vertically. So if I take a look right here, I can see here's the position kind of moving up and down on this as kind of a slope. And again, that's fine for that. However, the rotation, I'm going to scroll a bunch so that it's not like massive. Okay, there we can see it a lot better. This is also happening on a curve. It goes slow and then speeds up and then kind of hits in the middle and then does the same thing over here. We want this to be just a straight linear line. And the way we can make that happen is we can click on some of these points. So like right here, for example, and right click. So then I can go to both tangents and click linear. And now this makes this a straight line rather than going off. I'll do the same thing for these other ends. Linear. Click this other yellow line, both tangents, linear. Now we just have a straight line for the rotation, and the position is still bobbing. So now if we look at the spin looks a lot more continuous and smooth, and then the bobbing up and down is still good as it was before. Okay, let's close that down, and let's take a look at this. Run the scene, and great. Coins look fantastic. Alright, so that is all for this lesson for basic animations. It's a very simple animation, but it illustrated a lot of the core components as to how animations work, and as well a little bit of a gotcha as well as making sure to put it on a child object so it doesn't clump everything together. In the next lesson, we're going to start creating a guard, an enemy character that will patrol around between different locations and look for the player, and if they see the player, run towards us. And that may sound very complicated, but using some of the things that we've built already, it will be not nearly as intimidating as it sounds. So, for now, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.